Hey, and welcome back to the Rick and Dafs podcast. I'm Dafs.
And I'm Rick.
And as always, we are here unscripted and raw.
That's right, Dafs. This is our first ever Skype cast. And I have to
Yes,
say,
indeed.
I feel a little lonely.
It does feel very strange. I am just talking to myself in the kitchen.
I mean, that's not that weird for you. So,
No.
usually it's not the kitchen, though. It's like a subway or something.
hmm
No,
And this is going to
literally
be
the subway, like the store.
and this is going to be published online for all to hear
Hmm.
rather than just collected by the CIA to control my thoughts.
Yeah, right. In the subway bathroom. Is there any place that's more depressing than a subway bathroom in Seattle?
There's not. You hit a new low.
Okay, so this week I was thinking we could have a couple topics, but the first one, uh, first off, that yes, the maiden voyage of the Skype cast, which is gonna we'll see how this goes. I'm thinking happy thoughts, uh, but I don't know how it's gonna turn out. The first thing I want to talk about though, um, is my Rick and Daph's thought of the week. Strip poker on the Enterprise. Who you got?
They only have one Z.
But contractually, he had a banner.
Wesley Crusher would make a terrible Dread Pirate Roberts.
I feel like you're doubting my ability to seduce an ape princess.
I'm not doubting. I'm a little doubting.
It's the Rick and Daff's Thought of the Week.
Okay, so Daphs, this week I've been thinking about coma etiquette. Like, you go into a deep coma. Yeah. Yeah, like if you're in a deep coma, like how long until I can start wearing some of your clothes and it's not frowned upon? Like, is it ever okay for me to start wearing your clothes if we're roughly the same
Are
size?
are you or
Yeah,
are you like
I'm me.
a brother, or are you this person's nurse?
Well, I feel like that. Well, that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother topic. Like, if you're the nurse of the coma victim, and you realize that they're in an unbreakable coma, and you start wearing their clothes. I mean, I feel like you
You know,
probably cross the professional boundaries.
there have been so many stories like that where uh the the bill comes for the hospital at the end, and it's itemized, right? And like a lot of it's just included in like the cost, like cleaning your room is included or whatever. But in this itemized receipt, they had all the meals that had been ordered for that patient.
Oh,
And this patient who had been in a coma for 2 months had ordered like really expensive breakfast, lunch, and dinner,
oh
and it had just
my,
been eaten by the staff.
oh my gosh, that's
the
terrible.
nurses the nurses were like, "Oh yeah, he would love a BLT right now.
Right,
Oh, and a Diet Coke."
two
And
thousand
it would
dollars.
like show up and be quiet, he's sleeping, and then they would just eat all the food, and it was just like that was like free lunches for the nurse.
Why wouldn't they think of like the fact that he was a coma victim though? Like that he wouldn't
Well,
be eating. They gotta find somebody who has dementia,
well,
but who's awake.
because the kitchen staff doesn't know that information. They just know what food goes to where.
No, but
And
what I'm saying is like if you're gonna steal food, you should probably steal it from the dementia person, not the person who's obviously not eating, who's in a coma.
but you still have to feed the dementia patient, so they're still going to be eating something. Whereas this guy's going to be on like tube feeding.
That's probably true. Fair enough. I'm just saying there's probably a workaround. I mean, you could say, "Oh, he's really hungry today. He ordered two meals." Or if you're really horrible, you just say, "You already ate, don't you remember?" I did. You did. You have mustard on your shirt. I do. You throw some mustard on him. See?
You do now.
So yeah, that's a whole nother question. But like, let's say you go into a coma when we're roughly the same
hmm
size. Like, at what
hmm
point in time is it okay for me to start like wearing your best jacket? Like, I'm like, this is a really nice jacket, and like, at what point in time is it okay for me to just start wearing it normally? And
I
not
mean, if as far as like clothes go, I feel like that is like you have to come over to my house, go through my drawers, and then pick something out. So I feel like that's more like a, I don't know. I've been in a coma for like a couple months kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
Whereas
And I'm
if it
like,
were like,
I'm supporting your grieving spouse, and then she's like, and I'm like, it's pretty cold. I should have brought a jacket. Well,
yeah,
let's
see
see.
that could happen organically.
Yeah,
I mean, that, and as far as like drinking my alcohol, I mean that I figured you'd be doing like
within the
yeah,
first
first or
week.
second day
Yeah,
that you're over like consoling Stacy. I imagine you'd be like, I'm gonna pour myself a drink. We're just gonna talk this out. Um,
yeah. The food is definitely
it's
like week one. I mean, that's
yeah,
available week one for sure. Yeah, the clothes is probably months. I probably have to wait for months. Um, at what point, like, how long into the coma? Like, here's another question. Like, if you were in a coma, how long do they have to hold your job for you? Because, like, as a boss, I feel like I would be like, geez, like, I really need this guy to be at work. But then I don't want to be the guy who fired the coma victim. So how does that work?
well, it's FMLA, right? So it's 12 weeks.
So you got 12 weeks to get out of your coma, and then after that, they terminate you?
After that, they just put you on long-term disability and they don't pay you because it's beyond Washington State's Protection Act.
Well, then, I mean, if legally the government is only giving you 4 weeks, so you only really have a month, and then I feel like if your job's fair game after a month, then I feel like everything in your life is fair game.
Well, 12 weeks. It's 3 months.
Oh, sorry, 3 months. My bad.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean,
Did you just sneeze?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I did. I covered it up like a vampire.
It was very interesting. This not being able to see you is making like I just get to imagine what you're doing, which is actually far more frightening than actually seeing what you're doing, which admittedly is also frightening.
I actually had pants on this episode.
This episode. Well, I'll see how long that lasts. I'm going to give that one episode. um
I mean, I think there are certain things that have to be on a sliding scale, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's importance. I mean, if it's good enough for insulin, it's good enough for us.
That's
I
true.
think eating some of the food, that's pretty quick because food goes bad, and so like that makes sense. If you're like, let's say you were to come over to like, feed my cats, I imagine you'd, drink some of my beer like the very first time. Like, why not? You're helping me out. But at what point are you, borrowing the Xbox or just, spending the night at, the apartment and then moving in, taking over my identity?
I'm essentially your clone. Like you wake up and I'm you.
I am David.
Yeah, right. I've taken the job at the
Honey.
allergy clinic.
Honey, it's me.
Right. Yeah, like that's another question. I feel like the difference, like now, granted, neither of us are single, but if I was single and you were just dating Stacy, like how long until then I can like try and move in on your girl?
Mhm.
Like what's the
Yeah,
rule there? Is that a
that
3 month
that
rule?
that definitely does happen. They made a whole movie about that called While You Were Sleeping,
Wasn't that a Sandra Bullock movie? I think it
something
was.
like that,
Yeah.
where she ends up like she was kind of sort of dating this guy, and he was going all right, and then he was asleep, and then she ends up just like totally macking on his brother,
Yeah.
and then they hook up, and then the guy gets better, and she's like, "Oh hey, bro," and he's like, "What do you mean, bro?"
I kind of left you for your own brother.
Right? Like it definitely was a weird movie,
Yeah, like
supposed to be romantic, and I was
mean,
like, this poor.
yeah, at some point in time though, like I mean, a year later, if you're still in a coma, Stacy's got to move on, right? I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if I mean, especially if it's just a dating situation, you have to break up with the coma victim. I mean, you don't have your whole.
Yeah.
I can't wait around for you to possibly wake up.
And if I weren't dating someone, like how soon after do you take over my Tinder profile? You're like, oh, actually, he's got quite a few matches.
I feel like that's week 1 too.
You just slowly start morphing the pictures so it starts looking like
Yeah.
you over the series of months.
I feel like the Tinder matches are kind of like food. They're going to spoil soon, so you got to get in there. You got to get that you go soon.
And you know for a fact that if you were like, hey, this is Rick, I saw that you matched with David and you had plans to go on a date. I got bad news and good news. Bad news is he is in a coma. Good news is that that's usually our podcast day, so I'm free this Friday if you still wanted to go out.
Wow. You know what? I bet you anything that there's somebody who's doing that right now, but the person's not even in a coma. They're just like their married friend or like whatever is just like, you can use my picture and pretend that I'm in a coma. So then you get the sympathy of like your friend's in a coma.
And you're taking care of his cat.
Then that's like a good sympathy and like good opener. Like, I mean, that's diabolical.
I had this whole like thing in my head played out where you're like, over time you just take over more and more of my life, and then you're like, Stacy, it's me, it's David. Don't you recognize me? You might have dementia. What do you want for lunch? You just ate. There's mustard on your shirt.
Right? Oh my gosh.
You're just gaslighting every way.
The only person I'd really be gaslighting is myself. I could never be you. I don't have the legs for it. So I think that was a good thought of the week.
Yeah.
I like that thought. I'm going to keep thinking about it. Here's something I also like. This is not the thought of the week, but this is something else I like have thought about. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, but as you know, like I'm like, I do music. I'm in a band and do different stuff like this. So we were sitting around trying to find ways to get like popular. And the best idea I had, which is not like writing good music or like being like a self-promoter or doing anything like that. It's a very Rick and Dafs idea. It's that we name our band the Rolling Stones.
Rolling Stones.
And then I sue the Rolling Stones for copyright infringement on my name that I've trademarked.
You would definitely get in Rolling Stones magazine.
Right? So like I would sue them. And the whole purpose would be, the idea is that they're like, the whole lawsuit is just ridiculous, but it's just to get me into the papers.
Mm-hmm.
So like we obviously lose the lawsuit, but I feel like the price that I pay is just like the advertising. It's like semi-free advertising.
Yeah. Well, a lot of bands will do that. Like, one of the I can't remember. See, now it doesn't matter. But I can't remember which band it was. But it was like they were on tour and they went to like a Denny's on Thanksgiving Day.
Mm-hmm.
And some guy had to work as their server. And so they gave him a $10,000 tip. And they're like, hey, we're gonna give you a tip. All I ask is that you tweet about it. And the guy's like, all right, whatever. And then he gets the tip, it's $10,000. And he's like, oh my God. And like, that blew up. Like, it was, I mean, you as a advertising agent, there's no way you can get more publicity for $10,000 than doing that.
What about by suing the Rolling Stones?
I mean,
stealing your name.
I mean, maybe. Although I imagine the slap suit they're going to put against you is...
Oh yeah, no, they'd basically own me. They're like, actually, some of this music is pretty good. Like, no, they own your whole catalog, which admittedly is very small and not very popular, but even so.
But would it bug you though if they're like, and now a new hit by the Rolling Stones?
Or
Yes,
just-
they're still making music,
Well,
and it's
even if-
your song
even
that
if
gets
it-
popular.
Even if it wasn't a hit, if it was just like a regular song, but they just put, I would just like, it would be like insult to injury. Like your plan backfired, you're in horrible debt, and now they're using your material. There's nothing you can do about it.
or even better, they just release an album just called like B-sides, like music that really wasn't good, but you guys like us, so like here we'll release it for free, and it's just all your music. So you have all this exposure, but no one makes money from it, and they're like, there you go.
Yeah, nobody makes any money, and it's like a backhanded like compliment because it's considered like they call it B-sides. I mean, I wouldn't put it past the Rolling Stones to do that.
I mean, they're still touring, so clearly they need the money.
Yeah, right? Well, those drug habits are expensive.
Yeah.
So now I would say it's the main event. As you know, Dafs, Christmas is approaching. And you know what that means? Star
I don't.
Wars.
Oh.
There's going to be a new Star Wars movie. So I was thinking, this is a topic we've done for Harry Potter, but we need to do it for Star Wars. What is the best Star Wars item that you could have in real life? I wrote down a couple off the top of my head. Obvious one, lightsaber. A droid, C-3PO or R2-D2.
Mm-hmm.
A blaster. Darth Vader's helmet. Moisture farm. Could be very valuable as global warming picks up.
Actually, funny enough, NPR literally just had a thing about a moisture farm today.
Oh.
This guy has created one that runs off of solar energy, and it's super hydrophilic instead of hydrophobic.
I don't know.
And it just pulls water out of the air, even in Dubai.
Wow.
And like people are buying it for like clean water, drinking water, like way off the grid, where like you would just have to fly it in. There's no other way to get it there, and you just plug one of these things in into the sun because it's solar power, and it just makes water for you.
Well, that one might not be as far-fetched as I had originally thought. The last two I've got is speeder and personal theme music. Like Darth Vader. Every time you enter a room, you're walking around, you get the Darth Vader music. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
You haven't given me a whole lot of time here. I think carbonite freezer.
I mean, it does literally, the tagline of the show is unscripted and raw.
That is true.
You should have been prepared.
I think a carbonite freezer.
Oh, that
where you could just like it doesn't look comfortable, that's for sure. But man, you can just free someone and then transport them. You don't have to feed them. They don't sleep. They don't, it seems like they don't dream or whatever.
They do come out like kind of like gross though.
A little bit, but like anything goes airlines, man, we would use that technology in a heartbeat.
That's true. Well, shall we go through them? Let's start with the carbonite freezer. The obvious monetary what word am I looking for? Monetary success that you could have by doing carbonite freezing. You could probably use it for more stuff than just people. You could use it for like food. Just like carbonite freeze a bunch of food, although it might ruin it. Although if you could do a human, then you could probably do like a bunch of apples or something.
Yeah, although Han definitely had to like heal afterward.
Yeah, he definitely seemed a little worse for the wear.
Yeah, but you can use it for transportation. You could use it for prisons.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem with that is if you used it for prison, then you kind of have the same problem where like the criminals are still in their peak power. They're not aging in the carbonite. So you might just end up with like a bunch of super criminals.
Like you just have like a criminal that's like been on a crime spree since 1930. It's just been like really drawn out.
Right? Yeah, he's like 500 years old technically, but he's only like 36.
Although honestly, I'm fine with that, because can you imagine John Dillinger trying to like rob a bank now? Like, it would be laughable. He would walk in with a gun. They go, okay, here's all this money, and he'd be like, oh man, sweet. And then you get like 10 feet, a silent alarm would go off. He wouldn't hear. The ink packs would explode all over him. There'd be a helicopter. He'd be like, oh man, it's the fuzz. Like, he's like just totally like trapped instantly.
That's true. But it would probably result in far more casualties as he tried to escape.
I mean,
weapons blazing.
Maybe he didn't really kill that many people, though, right?
No, he didn't. No. And
so
it is a federal crime, though. If he didn't kill anybody, then he'd still get carbonite frozen, but probably for a lot less time.
Yeah. But like, fast forward, he gets unfrozen in like 2047, and he just has like, he finds the first guy to sell him a blaster, tries it again, and they're like, "Oh, Johnny." At this point, it's just cute. Like,
that's true. Do you think
they just let him try?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could set up like I don't know what you'd do. I guess what end up doing though is spreading out like the crimes. Like, it would almost be like, well, what would end up happening, instead of being like you're sentenced to life in prison, they'd be like, well, you're frozen forever.
Yeah.
So what would happen is, and then eventually the storage units would get like so full that they would like blast them into space. And then, of course, inevitably somebody would find them, like Khan from Star Trek.
Yes, Khan.
And they would unfreeze all the criminals, and they would come back unrehabilitated, furious that they had been frozen, and after years of like searching the galaxy, would come back to Earth and get their revenge and kill us all.
Yeah, but that sounds like my great grandkids' problem, not mine.
Like global warming.
Exactly. That's never gonna happen. And we'll never see the problems from that, right, Rick?
I might as well just, soup up my car, put it on what I don't even know, like the most CO2 wasting settings.
I just leave the freezer open to cool down the apartment.
I just spray aerosol everywhere. I just walk down the street blasting it into the air. And I do things like wear my use my snow tire chains all year round. To rip up the pavement.
The one thing that they could do, these criminals who are then unfrozen like decades or centuries later, is they'd all get jobs either as podcasters or like on the History Channel. And now, to better tell us about the very storied and famous crimes of John Dillinger,
well, it was
is the man himself.
Well, it was like this. I tell you what, I went to the bank, I raised up my gun, I said, give me the money. That's if Bob Kazamakis was doing a dramatic reenactment.
It would just be like a bunch of like true crime podcasts with actual people like Al Capone.
I'm really off the carbonite freezing for all of the reasons I mentioned. It's an apocalyptic problem that would come back to bite you. Also, as we've discussed every episode, the mob, they're just going to be freezing people, like human trafficking would be off the charts.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible. So I'm off the carbonite freezing. I also don't think I would like the lightsaber. Like, as cool as a lightsaber is, I feel like it would inevitably end with me accidentally chopping Molly's arm off.
Well, I think we did mention this in a podcast previously about how like surgeons would try to use it. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, cutting, cauterizing at the same time. Yeah, I mean, useful for sure. But like that, yeah, you would end up with like bootleg versions of it. It's like the same thing as vape technology. Like, for sure, some, massive Philip Morris company, is going to pour all this data into it to try to find a way to like do it as safely as possible while still killing you. But like, someone's going to hack that and, reverse engineer that and sell it on eBay like 2 days later And you're just gonna have a whole bunch of like kids walking around with battery packs that have hot elements and put chemicals into themselves.
Right. Yeah. Or you're gonna have some. Yeah, it's just like tons of stabbings. What if you drop it? I live in an apartment.
Exactly.
Not on the bottom
it just
floor.
goes dum, 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 dum.
It could go through to the Earth's core, technically, right?
Have you seen the robot chicken where they do that?
No.
Oh man, you would love the Star Wars robot chicken. It's just Star Wars, but in there he goes, "Hook, hand me the lightsaber," and he goes, and then hands it to him and drops it, and he goes, "Oh no!" and he goes, "Hey, what was that?" You can hear it going through all the floors of the Death Star. It's so funny.
The whole thing, it just explodes. Now, okay. I feel like that's also a bad idea for that obvious reason. Now, potentially the best one on here to me, well, there's a couple that spring to mind as the best. The personal theme music would be pretty cool, although I don't think I could live up to the theme music. It would be like none of us could. Like, you'd be walking down the hall and the intense, like, Darth Vader music is playing, and then, you know, you hear the music, and then the guy comes around a corner, and he's like, it's Stu the accountant. He's not very impressive. And he's like dropping the papers, and he's like, "Oh, our quarterly numbers don't look so good. I have to go now." Bum, 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 bum. That just doesn't work. Also, imagine if you have to go somewhere that requires reverence. Like a funeral. What if you're a pallbearer?
What if all 6 pallbearers have different songs and it's just awful?
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. If we all just had different theme songs for Star Wars, that would be terrible.
I wasn't even thinking Star Wars. I was thinking like, what if you just walk into a room after like a funeral and it's all solemn and you just have this Mungo Jerry going in the summertime when the music is fun. I am so sorry.
Guys, can we just turn it off for just a second? I'm sorry, that's not how it works. That's true. It would be far more impractical than it would be useful. Yeah, that would be bad. I feel like mine would probably be like one of our like one of the songs from our news segments would be my theme music. Like if I had to just guess based off personality. I feel like yours would be you're actually tough to pin down. What would your theme music be?
So here's the thing. This is what I noticed today. So I had a locksmith come by, right? And he's about my age. And I was thinking like, okay, because he's working and I'm working at the same time, and it's just dead silence. And I'm like, I'm gonna put music on.
I'm gonna interrupt here for just a second. I can't think of any other like job that still gets to use the word smith. Like blacksmiths don't exist really anymore.
No,
I feel like
not much.
Locksmith is the last smithy. But
yeah.
But they don't even make locks. I feel like they should have to change their name. Okay, anyways, continue on.
But so I was trying to find like music that we could like listen to that like one he wouldn't hate because like I don't know his tastes. And then 2 that would be like okay to like, you know, fun to listen to, wouldn't be offensive or whatever. And I'm like, man, what is like music that everyone likes but like is, you know, not offensive but worth it?
Tom Petty.
No, because even Tom Petty gets a little dry after a while, in my opinion.
I'm just saying, if you have to just take a guess for any sort of rock music, I would guess on Tom Petty.
What I end up putting
viscerally hate. Nobody's like, fuck Tom Petty. That guy sucks and I hate him. Like, I'm just saying, like, I feel like all other artists probably have somebody who viscerally hates them. I don't think Tom Petty has anybody who loves him or viscerally hates him.
Yeah, he's just he's there.
So what did you choose ultimately?
Lo-fi hip hop. That like that background tracks that like you could rap over if you wanted to, but it's mostly just for like studying to.
Oh, really?
Or crying to.
Or crying.
I just put that on and it's just like It's like a nice little like background beat. And the guy was like, huh.
You should have just like played it off like, oh yes, this is what I listen to all the time.
Oh, that is what I listen to all the time.
Oh,
That's
really?
the thing. If I'm studying, there's no like lyrics in there, so it's not distracting.
Chosen, like big band music. Or, I'm a weirdo, so I would have chosen college marching band radio.
And now another song with a name you would not recognize by the Michigan State Marching Band.
Right? You haven't lived until you've heard Any Way You Want It by Wisconsin Marching Band. Okay, so personal theme song's probably out then, huh? That's no good. What about one of the speeders? That could be useful.
The speeders seem useful. It's essentially just a hovercraft. We already have hovercrafts. But it's just a more efficient hovercraft.
Do you have to gas it up, or is it like free? Or is it like fuel free? Like that's because if you have to gas it up, then I probably would be disinterested, because I mean it can only hover a few feet off the ground, and as far as I can tell, it doesn't have a windscreen. The first time. Or sorry, there's no roof to it. The first time you took it out, that you'd get pulled over by the cops and ticketed heavily.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing about the speeders is they can go fast. They can go over most terrain as long as it's flat. There is some limitation, it turns out. And
you can't just like summit Everest on your speeder.
No, you can't just go straight up.
That would be amazing if you could, though. Just literally just drive up the side of a mountain, hovering just above whatever you're near.
But we do have hovercrafts now, and if you look into like what it takes to make one, because people just build their own. You can build
Top Gear.
Yeah, you can build your own hovercrafts, and some of them can get up to 14 feet off the ground, which is crazy. Like, how is that not a plane at that point?
I don't know. I feel like one thing I'm realizing from this podcast is that the lawyers must not exist in Star Wars.
No.
Because there is no liability laws. Like, you can carbonite freeze somebody. You can have literally a knife made of lasers. You can drive a speeder around that has no seatbelts, no roof, clearly no like impact collision like warnings. So speeder's also out because you just get pulled over.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like Star Wars and the vastness of space is very much like Wisconsin. You drive through it and you quickly realize, man, I mean, just anybody could murder me and bury me and no one would ever know. Like, not until like, they decide to chop that forest down and grow more corn, are they going to find my old skeleton? Like, there's just so much
theme music still playing.
Yes.
That's how they'd find you. They'd be like, there's some weird music over here. Just from 6 feet under. They're like, quick, dig faster, cover it up. You can still hear the music.
To go full circle, how bad is it if your coma patient has their music just stuck on?
Oh no, that's awful. If your coma music was stuck on, I mean, I'm taking all your stuff just for revenge. If I'm your nurse, I'm stealing from you 100%. If you have a personal theme song that's just playing on a loop while I'm stuck in there, I feel like I need to get combat pay or something.
I'm not even thinking of the poor nurse. I'm thinking of the patient. They say hearing's the last thing to go. No. God, I hope not.
Right. That's terrible.
I listen to Mungo Jerry for the next 12 years until I die of infection.
You're trying to sleep. Mungo Jerry's just playing constantly. Everyone would just go. It's like a form of torture. This personalized theme song is a bad idea. It's definitely the worst thing on the list.
Is that a jug? Is he playing a jug? Yes, he is.
Well, the other thing is, like, imagine if you were a musician, you could never play anything. One, and especially you could never play out of the single key that the song was written in, or else everything would clash horribly.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely have to have like an on-off switch, or if you were a musician and you were able to kind of change it, you would just every musician you would be able to spot them because their music would be a metronome. It would just be tick, tick.
What would be
tick,
better is like, and this is not Star Wars, but if you could have walk-up music. You know, it's like a short burst like they do in baseball. The baseball player walks up. It's like 10 seconds of like something really cool, and then it's over. You know, like I clock into work, and like this music is just blasting. Like it's just like this sweet song, and then it's over. And then I walk into my patient's room for the first time, and it's the same song. But after the first time, then it's done.
I'm just thinking of like all the possible like best like 2-second clips or 3-second clips of songs that would play whenever you walk into a room.
Staying Alive.
Yeah.
Although that would be really bad in an emergency if the doctor runs up and like you're trying to do CPR and it's like some like weird song is playing while he's walking in. You can't hear anything.
At first I was afraid. I was petrified.
Right. I can't hear you, doctor.
Atropine, damn it.
I'm sorry, Mungo Jerry was too loud. When the weather is fine, you can do as you feel. No.
I just imagine like the worst possible songs for the worst professions. Like, what if you were like what if you were like a cop, like going to a scene of a crime, and you just open the door, shot through the heart, and you're too late.
Or Smooth Criminal or something.
So tell me what happened. Yeah. My husband was just shot. Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's a shame. Smooth Criminal comes on. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna skip over Blaster and Moisture Farm for obvious reasons. The Darth Vader helmet I only thought of because there might be some cool like visual effects that might be in there, like that would help you like with seeing different things.
Like the Geordie LaForge visor.
Yeah, like maybe it would have some sort of targeting system or like let you see through walls or something. But then at the same time, the problem with that helmet is it's like you can't just wear your casual clothes with that. You kind of have to dress up to the level of the helmet.
Yeah, you pretty much have to wear the cape.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it just sounds like you're walking around in a t-shirt with a CPAP strapped to your face.
Right. Like you just go into work, you're dressed professionally in every way, but you're wearing a Darth Vader helmet. Are you comfortable? You as a hospice nurse, that would be really bad.
Please rate your pain on a scale of 1 to 10. Are you force choking that patient? No.
Hold still while I give you this morphine.
Oh.
Go into the light. Yeah, that would be bad.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh, man. What if you had people who were like sick or near death, and rather than doing like the cryogenic freezing, they froze them in carbonite, being like, surely in the future we'll have a cure for a heart attack.
Yet again, the same thing would happen where they would blast them into space eventually. But then when they all came to, they would just die.
Yeah.
So the helmet's probably no good. Probably the best of all of these is at one of the droids, because they could probably help you with some mundane tasks. Although I don't speak the beeping thing that R2D2 does, and CP3, whatever his name is, C3PO, is pretty annoying. Eventually, you'd probably just push him down a flight of stairs.
He is super annoying. Yeah, it is weird. It's like, somehow everyone understands that beeping and clicking and whirring that R2D2 units make.
Yeah.
And it's like, when did that become like the new Mandarin?
They
like
all learn how to speak binary.
Yeah.
I don't know. That is weird, though. The other thing is, if they can have the capacity to understand people, why can't they speak back?
Exactly.
Why? Is if they can make androids, like literal androids that could do all these calculations and translate things, why does he walk like an old man who has really bad hemorrhoids?
Well, because he was made by some like weird nerdy kid who ends up growing up to be an evil supervillain. Yeah, I mean, he was made by a 6-year-old, and it's showing.
Okay, that's the other thing. Since we know that C-3PO was made by Anakin, aka Darth Vader, do you think that there's some evil codes uploaded into him? And also, when he sees, does he ever actually come into physical contact with C-3PO as Darth Vader?
I was wondering that. I don't know if they cross over.
Hey, how's it going? C-3PO, my old friend. There's this unexpected reunion scene. Come with me. Kill the others.
Right?
Yeah, that whole thing is kind of strange. That's a very awkward.
There's just screaming in the background. Meanwhile, Darth Vader's going down nostalgia road. Yeah. Like, hey, remember that time when I made you just so that you could show me pictures of boobs? Yeah. Right. That desert planet was the worst.
Now that I have the authority, I'm planning to blow up one of their suns. It's going to wreak havoc on their entire ecosystem. So I think that the most useful would probably be C-3PO, but he would also be annoying. Oh,
yeah.
There is one thing we haven't mentioned, which honestly, because I feel like all of these are terrible, that this one is probably the best because it is the most boring and mundane. But that weird Star Wars chess game that they play on the I guess it's episode 4 technically. Like when he's like, Wookiees don't, and droids don't rip your arms off when they lose. You know, that weird, like, I don't know what it was, but like that they're like, it's like Star Wars chess.
It's like holographic chess where the pieces beat each other up.
Yeah. So like if you could get that and then reverse engineer it, you could make $1 billion.
Yeah.
Other than that, if you had to choose one of these, what would it be? It might actually be Moisture Farm. Take Uncle Ben's Moisture Farm, because it apparently was nice enough to where you could have multiple droids and a speeder. So maybe you could have a decent living as a moisture farmer.
Seemed like he was pretty well to do for a recluse.
Until he got horribly murdered.
I mean, yeah.
So of all
there is that.
So with the carbonite freezing technology, the lightsaber, the droid, the blaster, Darth Vader's helmet, moisture farm, speeder, or the personal theme song, if you had to choose one, what would it be? What I've learned is that they all suck.
Yeah, none of them are great. Yeah, that is true.
I think with the Harry Potter one, we were like arguing like which one is the best because they all had their good points. On this one, just trying to figure out which one's least worst.
Keep in mind though, the main difference. All of those things are essentially wonderful and usable by an 11-year-old, which means there's very little entry cost and skill involved. However, all of these things, like for instance, Star Wars also has faster than light travel, but that's not going to be useful for me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I'm not going anywhere that I need to go there that fast.
you don't need the Millennium Falcon.
Also, I would die if I tried.
Yeah, you just fly into the sea. Or like through a star or something.
Exactly, right.
Are you like cooking bacon? I'm hearing some like fizzing in the background.
No, that's just Stacy drinking water.
Oh, interesting. Stacy, I can hear you. Okay, so if you had to choose one, what would it be?
If I could turn it on and off, definitely the entrance music, for sure. If it is not able to turn on or off, then I think I'd probably still go with lightsaber, especially if I was the only one to have one.
I mean, it would be cool until you killed somebody by accident.
I mean, it'd still be pretty cool. Let's be fair.
I think if I had to choose one, I'd probably choose the speeder. And I would definitely crash it trying to drive it up the mountain.
Right? Like,
yeah. The good news is that like if the road was relatively even, you could still drive it. Like you know, some of those like trail roads that get really rough. That wouldn't be a problem for the speeder. You just blast on up.
Yeah.
And you would hope that if you drove it off a cliff that it would hover somewhere before you died. Unless you drove it off a cliff into the forest.
I mean, so along similar lines to the speeder, there is that Darth Maul kind of speeder bike that he's on.
Yeah.
And also those bikes they have on that forest planet where they go in and out of the trees. Those would be way more useful.
Yeah, but for me as a family man, I need the speeder.
you need a car seat.
Yeah, I need to be able to put a car seat in the back. I need that needs to have airbags. Yeah, so I'd probably go speeder. You'd go lightsaber. I'd be really pissed if you dropped your lightsaber through the floor of my speeder. And we had to like Fred Flintstone our way around.
No, here's what would happen. We would just go out to like a field or the desert, and I would be like, "All right, are you ready? You have the map? Perfect." And like I would just turn the lightsaber on and hold it over the side of the speeder, like into the ground, scorching it, and then he would just draw like a giant symbol, like across like 12 miles.
Right. We could do some writing. We could do some pretty good graffiti.
That's kind of weird. I don't remember New Mexico having a giant arrow that says "Suck it, Arizona." It's 14 miles tall. You can see it from space.
Aliens do exist. That would be pretty sweet. Oh man, I just thought of something. Oh man, I can't remember what it is now though. Ah, fuck. Damn. I had something pop into my head that was really exciting. Oh well. Yeah, the lightsaber would definitely be dangerous though. I would not go for the lightsaber. Because you would definitely kill somebody. Oh, I remember. If you had the lightsaber, one of the pluses would be you could become a miner. You could go into the bowels of the earth and you could extract all sorts, like you could go through like stone and rock like nothing.
Yeah, I mean there is. So that's one of those questions, and I know we need to wrap it up here soon, but
we do need to wrap it up.
One of those questions about lightsabers is it does pass through some things with great ease. But then through like solid metal, you see it like bounce off. And it just kind of scorches the metal.
I don't think it bounced off. I thought he had to stick it in and just like kind of like really work it through.
When Qui-Gon Jinn is trying to, break down that double sealed door with it, he has to like push hard and then use the force and concentrate to like work it into the metal. Whereas like everything else, it'll pass through some things if you swing it hard enough, but through other things, it just kind of bounces.
Yeah, but that was like a space door of like a giant spaceship. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
So drywall, you think would be fine?
yeah, I think it probably could just be fine. You'd be like, I'm gonna expand my apartment. Just... I mean, lightsaber versus no lightsaber, you're gonna win every time. Time for you to clear out.
You just cut out a huge doorway into the apartment next to you. Hey, oh no, this is my apartment now. No, it's not. And you swing the lightsaber back and forth. Boom, boom, boom. Are you sure? No, I think you're right. I think this is your apartment.
You
All
can
right,
keep
sorry.
everything. Wait, except for that ottoman. I like that. Leave it here. Well, you're gonna choose the lightsaber. I'm gonna choose the speeder.
Yeah.
But you're right. Between the two of us, we would definitely end up graffitiing something. You would probably start a forest fire with your lightsaber.
Yeah.
And go to prison. And...
Although, if I do it right, I can also create burn lines at the same time. So I'll be creating forest fires and also stopping forest fires all at the same time.
You're like an arsonist firefighter.
And I prefer it to be called an arsonburist. like an arborist arsonist.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that's probably where we'll end it. But I thought this was for our first Skype episode, our Skype-isode, as we'll call it. Are you brushing your teeth now? What's happening?
What?